Cat Black here, being an extra brother in the community. Since the 1990s, I have hit the streets, the airwaves, and now online, promoting the Extra Brother movement, where black men look at our situation, and instead of hoping that some benevolent, pale being will swoop down from the sky to save us, we revolve and resolve to save ourselves. Not really an outrageous proposition. This is what members of my father's generation did. This is what members of my grandfather's generation did. This is what members of my great-grandfather's generation did, and beloved ancestors before them. In this capacity, I have bodyguarded for free crime victims. I have stood watch for free. Playgrounds, special events. I have escorted female friends during the carjacking renaissance of a few years ago, and even now, when they go to pump gas, either standing watch while they pump gas or pumping the gas for them while they're inside their vehicles with the doors locked. I assisted a homeowner who wasn't black, incidentally, but lived in our majority black city, as he was raked over the coals for defending himself, his pregnant wife, and his child against a home invader at the witching hour, it seems, of 3 a.m. I say witching hour because at 3:30 in the morning, years later, I had to scare off a community traitor who tried to break inside my house. And of course, what I had in my hands wasn't the final call nor a bean pie, but the barrel was sufficient to persuade him to flee. This is what being an extra brother means. We've got to go the extra mile for our safety, because without our safety, without that foundation firm, like concrete, cement, or steel, everything else in the community collapses. If our children are gunned down in the streets, used for target practice at graduation parties, gatherings, actual graduations, now that I think about it, playing football in public parks, then what community do we have? We have to have safety, not rationed from bureaucrats who could care less, but coming from the grassroots up, from our relationships, from our helping each other, from our protecting each other, without asking permission from outside parties or entities, and only involving outside entities as law demands. It's on us, brothers. We have always risen to the challenge. Don't let the narrative and the propaganda fool you. Now, we're up against a level of programming that rivals that, I would argue, of what we were subjected to in our captivity. Even in Jim Crow, and as a Gen Xer, Jim Crow light, growing up in the South, we still had a hierarchy of safety and respect that withstood outside forces. Now we just have to turn our attention in a two-front fashion. Still vigilant against outside threats, but also urgent in addressing the internal treason that, again, murders our young men, many of whom among the victims before they're even old enough to vote, violates our young women and young men sometimes, long before they can think about marriage or serious relationships. Targets are women of all ages by themselves for assault, for carjackings. Can you imagine if a Dylan Roof or a Peyton Gendron, the Buffalo, New York racist mass shooter, if you had outsiders like these running through the community doing what traitors have been doing to us since my start date is the crack cocaine invasion of the 1980s, when it became chic to destroy your community and be applauded for it later on from we'll say the late 90s forward. Now you have millennials and Gen Zers who feel that they run the community and that they can harm whomever they want because some hippie or hipster behind a DA's office or the bench in a juvenile court will just let them return to terrorizing other community members. Because at the end of the day, the people they're terrorizing are not campaign donors. They're not in the political inside crowd. So I guess they don't matter. You know, if you live in a majority black city, it's okay for you to be carjacked. It's all right for you to be armed robbed. It's reasonable for you to be beaten up in a strong arm robbery. Because you're not one of the important people who signs the checks for politicians who agree with this carnage. So this is the backdrop that prompted Xtra brothers to go the extra mile for the community. We have to. I mean, if you're not going to bow down to outside threats, then why would you bow down to the inside threat? Peace.